The turn of the 19th and 20th centuries is often described as an age of progress and great discoveries. Electricity, medicine, aviation, it felt as if humanity was finally mastering the world. But behind this optimism was a far darker reality. Science was advancing faster than ethics, and human life was often treated as collateral damage in the pursuit of the future. Many people believed that almost any risk was acceptable if it promised progress. The stories you are about to hear are real, documented, and verified. And that is precisely why they are more disturbing than fiction. Carl Tanzler, the man who lived with his dead lover for 7 years. In the early 1930s, in Key West, Florida, radiology technician Carl Tanzler met 21-year-old Elena de Hoyos, who was suffering from tuberculosis. He immediately convinced himself that she was his destined soulmate. Despite treatment, Elena died in October 1931. Tanzler built a mausoleum for her and spent nearly 2 years sleeping beside her body, claiming that she spoke to him and sent him messages. In 1933, he secretly exhumed her remains and transported them to his home. For the next 7 years, he lived with the corpse, attempting what he called a restoration. He wired the bones together using piano wire and metal hangers. Decomposed skin was replaced with silk soaked in wax and plaster. Glass beads served as eyes. Using hair given to him by Elena's mother, he made a wig. He stuffed the torso cavities with rags to preserve her shape. Most disturbing was his plan for resurrection. Tanzler began building a homemade airship in his yard, believing that lifting Elena's body into the upper atmosphere would expose it to cosmic radiation and bring her back to life. In 1940, relatives discovered the body. However, the statute of limitations for grave desecration had expired, and Tanzler was released. Public reaction was shocking. Newspapers described him as an eccentric romantic. More than 6,000 people paid to view Elena's mummified body before she was finally buried in an unmarked grave. Why did society at the time see this as tragic devotion rather than a dangerous psychological obsession? Vladimir Demikhov, the surgeon who created two-headed dogs. In 1954, Soviet surgeon Vladimir Demikhov conducted experiments that sounded like science fiction. Determined to prove that vital organ transplantation was possible, he chose the most extreme demonstration imaginable. Demikhov transplanted the head, shoulder girdle, and front legs of a puppy onto the neck of an adult German shepherd, connecting the puppy's blood vessels to the host dog's heart. This was not an illusion. Both heads were alive. The puppy's head reacted to sound, yawned, moved its eyes, and even attempted to bite the other head's ear. Both heads drank milk at the same time, even though the puppy's esophagus was not connected to his stomach. The liquid simply drained out through tubes. These creatures survived anywhere from a few days to a month. The longest-lived example survived 29 days. The experiments horrified the world. Yet paradoxically, Demikhov's work became the foundation of modern transplant surgery. Dr. Christian Barnard, who performed the first successful human heart transplant, later referred to Demikhov as his teacher. Can such experiments be justified if they ultimately led to medical advances that saved thousands of lives? Balloonfest, 1986, a charity event that turned deadly. On September 27, 1986, the United Way charity organization in Cleveland attempted to set a world record by releasing 1,429,643 balloons into the sky. The event took place at Public Square and attracted thousands of spectators. Organizers assumed the balloons would rise and gradually deflate. Instead, a cold front and rain kept them buoyant. The balloons fell back down across the city. Cleveland descended into chaos. The runway at Burke Lakefront Airport was covered and temporarily shut down. Traffic accidents occurred as drivers swerved to avoid falling balloons. In nearby areas, frightened horses injured themselves while breaking through fences. The most tragic consequence unfolded on Lake Erie. That same day, 2 fishermen, Raymond Broderick and Bernard Sulzer, went missing. A Coast Guard rescue helicopter arrived, but pilots found the lake's surface completely covered with millions of colorful balloons. Distinguishing a human head from a balloon was impossible. The search was called off. The fishermen's bodies were found days later. The victims' widows filed a $3.2 million lawsuit. The court ruled the organizers responsible, and the Guinness World Record was officially revoked due to environmental damage. London baby cages. Infants hanging outside windows. In the 1930s, a popular belief spread through London that fresh air was essential for strengthening infants' health and hardening the blood. In cramped urban apartments, a solution emerged: baby cages. These were wire enclosures attached to the outside of apartment windows, often several stories above the ground. Parents literally suspended their babies over city streets, convinced that London's smog and cold air were beneficial. The practice received medical approval at the time. One of the most famous people to consider using such a cage was Eleanor Roosevelt, although neighbors reportedly threatened to call the police. The custom faded only with the onset of World War II, when air raids and bombings made hanging children outside windows an obviously dangerous idea. Franz Reichelt, the man who jumped from the Eiffel Tower. On February 4, 1912, Austrian tailor Franz Reichelt climbed to the first platform of the Eiffel Tower, 187 feet above the ground. He had invented a wearable parachute suit weighing about 20 pounds and obtained official permission to test it. Authorities believed he would drop a dummy. Instead, Reichelt announced he would jump himself. Film footage shows him standing at the edge for nearly a minute, shifting his weight, hesitating, and staring down. At 8:22 a.m., he stepped off. The parachute failed to deploy. The suit wrapped around his body like a shroud. Reichelt fell straight down, leaving a crater nearly 6 inches deep in the frozen ground. An autopsy revealed massive fractures to the spine and skull. One theory suggests his heart stopped before impact. The footage became one of the earliest widely circulated fatal recordings of the 20th century. Serge Voronoff, monkey gland rejuvenation for the elite. In the 1920s, Russian-born surgeon Serge Voronoff became a global medical celebrity. He claimed that transplanting testicular tissue from monkeys into elderly men could restore youth, improve memory, eyesight, and sexual vitality. Demand exploded. Voronoff opened a monkey farm on the Italian Riviera to supply donors. Thousands of wealthy men underwent the procedure. The trend seeped into popular culture with monkey gland cocktails, songs, and jokes. Voronoff became a multi-millionaire. Later studies proved the effects were pure placebo. The tissue was quickly rejected by the body, leaving only scar tissue. Still, belief in rejuvenation proved stronger than scientific evidence. Ota Benga, a man displayed in a zoo cage. In 1906, the Bronx Zoo in New York opened an exhibit inside the monkey house. In a cage with an orangutan named Dohang stood a human being, Ota Benga, a Mbuti pygmy brought from the Congo. A sign listed his age, height, and origin. Zoo director William Hornaday and supporters of eugenics promoted him as a missing link in human evolution. Up to 40,000 visitors a day came to see him. People laughed, poked him with sticks, and demanded that he shoot arrows for entertainment. After protests from black clergy, Benga was released. He tried to adapt to life in the United States, worked at a tobacco factory, and attempted to return home. But the outbreak of World War I made that impossible. Overwhelmed by isolation and despair, Ota Benga took his own life in 1916.